For years now, social media has been dominated by a few big players: Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. But earlier this year, a newcomer took the world by storm, topping the app download charts and making the feed giants sit up and take notice. Here to discuss how to reshape the digital marketplace of ideas with The Guardian's Dara Kerr, please give a warm welcome to the founder and CEO of UpScrolled, Issam Hijazi.
Hello.
Hey, Dara.
Hi, I'm excited to be here to talk about this revolutionary social media app. So you launched less than a year ago, just last summer. Can you tell me what motivated you to start this new app in this fairly crowded ecosystem?
Yeah, good question. Definitely not the fact there's not enough social media platforms out there. Obviously, there's a lot of them, and they have billions and billions of users. What triggered me personally is the event of the genocide that started about 2.5 years ago in Gaza. Looking at the social media space, social media platforms have been complicit in a way, whether that's with suppressing and oppressing or silencing people on those platforms, and not having or enabling people to spread the information about what's really happening on the ground. So a lot of people experience things like shadow banning or selective censorship when their content was talking about what's really happening on the ground on Gaza. And that motivated me as a human being, first of all, but also because I'm a Palestinian. I'm very connected with the cause. And I've lost many family members in Gaza through the last 3 years. And I still continue to see people being massacred on the ground. And I've been working with the big tech for the past 17, 18 years. And I felt personally complicit continuing to work for them, so I decided to start something else that can be helpful for people in general, not necessarily only Palestinian, but really anyone who wants a safe place where they can express themselves without the fear of being silenced or shadow banned or censored.
So was there an aha moment where you're like, the way I can address this problem is with social media?
The aha moment with me was I knew people were looking for alternative. I've done a lot of research, and people were sick and tired of existing social media platforms, and they're sick and tired of the existing owners of these platforms. They wanted something else. They wanted something new that would respect their privacy, that would respect their voice, without having the fear of, again, being censored or shadow banned. So after looking and after researching, I realized that an alternative has to be born somewhere. So I decided to roll up my sleeves and dedicate myself to build that. Even though back then that sounded like a crazy idea, especially with the existing mainstream social media platform. And I did not tell anyone about this because I knew people will tell me that's a crazy idea. So I deliberately wanted to build that and prove it and see the willingness from people to switch from those big platforms into something relatively new.
And people have switched. It has grown tremendously. Most notably, this past January, you saw a huge surge in users. You have millions now. It's 2.5 million users, and it shot to the top of Apple's App Store, which is pretty incredible for such a small company that's not, full of Silicon Valley VC funding. And I mean, how you see the traditional story of this very networky insider crew. So can you tell me a bit about that just massive surge in popularity, why you think it happened, and if it was tied to certain events or?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to go a bit back in the story, last year in July, UpScrolled started to exist as a platform. Up until January this year, we had around 150,000 users, and I was pretty much the only person at the company, as in maintaining the backend, front-end, the app, content moderation, support, and everything in between. Now, coming into the end of January, there was the acquisition of the TikTok US by Larry Ellison and other investors, and isolating TikTok specifically in the US from the rest of the world, and that means TikTok wanted to manipulate or censor certain content for that reason. Now, users across the US were really sick and tired of that, and they wanted a refuge somewhere else where they can be able to safely express themselves without having that fear of censorship or being shadow banned. Some of the users were already on UpScrolled, so they started to mention us on several social media platforms like X and Instagram and TikTok itself, and that really went viral. And people started to migrate. They discovered UpScrolled and they started to talk more about it. And we became trending as #1 app in multiple countries. And none of this was planned. None of this was sponsored by any means. This was pretty much organic. And within 1 week, we became #1 app across multiple countries, including UK, including Australia, including US, and a few other countries around the world. And within that specific week, we've seen the surge from 150,000 users to 2.5 million users. That tells you a thing. People are now changing the way that they choose things. They want things that, I would say, go with the way that they want to see the world, which is more ethical. So that was proven in that specific moment.
What is really interesting about this app is that you don't use algorithms in the same way that we've seen them take over every other social media app. I think there's a great nostalgia for the chronological feed. Can you talk a little bit about how the app works and how the feed works?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just making social media platforms social, the way they should be. If you go back 20 years ago, social media platforms have always been chronological. You follow people, the people that you care about, that you're interested to see their content, your friends, colleagues, etc., and then you're staying up to date with what's happening. So we're building on that principle. So by default, when you open UpScrolled, the chronological feed, that is the feed that you control, will be the first thing that you see in the app. And you have full control of that. And we want intentionally to do it, because we don't want to build addiction loop which can keep you on the app for the sake of profitability, for example. We care about your well-being as a user, unlike the other platforms. Now, we do have discover features. Now, if you want to go outside of your circle, then there's a discover feature, discover section within the app that allows you to see what else is happening around the world, a trending topic, and allow you to follow new users. But again, that's not the default feature that you land into, because we want you to be in control of your feed rather than us manipulating it and suggesting things that maybe you're not interested in.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you've built this app outside of the United States, right?
Correct.
How do you do that? I mean, not that the United States is center, but it is Silicon Valley. It's where the money is. It's where all the big players are. So how do you build an app like this outside of Silicon Valley in the United States?
Well, there's a lot of talent outside the US. Talent is not only in the US, and also capital exists outside the US. And this is a proof that something like this could actually happen. Just by connecting with the right people, connecting with the right community. For example, we're connected with Tech for Palestine, and they are a tech incubator that look after specific ethical technologies, and they support them in different ways, whether that's through connections or else. So by really connecting with these communities, you can expand your network and understand or be introduced to talents that can help you along the way. And that's exactly what happens. So things doesn't have to be born within the US. And intentionally, I did not want to move the company to the US. I wanted to be outside of the US for that specific reason.
You do have a big user base in the US, right? And there were certain incidents that the app saw really growth in popularity, most notably around events with marginalized communities, what we saw in Minnesota with the killing of Alex Preddy, ICE crackdowns across the country. Do you see that kind of baked in, like the idea of marginalized communities being able to connect and see what's happening? Do you see that baked into the app?
Absolutely. I think social media platforms, the existing ones, have been systematically suppressing people's voices in general when it comes to anything that goes against what the US government is funding. Let's put it that way. And those people wanted to seek refuge. Whether that's because of what was happening in the US with the ICE and immigration and all that, or with other events, or whether other marginalized groups across the US. And they found UpScrolled as a safe place that enables them to express themselves without the fear of being silenced or being removed. And we're all about protecting our users' privacy, user data. We don't share the data with any third parties. We don't ever intend to do that. We have mechanisms to ensure that your data stays secure. where we store them outside the US and so on. And I guess that created an interest from different groups to be part of a platform that is not owned by US per se, and provide them that safe space to express themselves.
So we've seen since January 2025, a lot of the social media companies cut their trust and safety teams, stop clamping down on moderation. How does UpScrolled see content moderation and trust and safety?
Trust and safety is very important. It's very, very important pillar for us at UpScrolled. We want to create a social media platform that is safe for everyone. So you as a user, you should feel safe when you talk, when you express yourself, not allowing hate speech, not allowing extreme content or illegal content in general. Now, the way we do it, we always have a human in the loop when it comes to content moderation. We will be using at some point tools that will enable us to detect certain content that is harmful, but it has to go through human content moderator at the very end to make the decision whether that's to keep the content on the platform or to remove the content of the platform. And that's important to ensure people continue to express themselves and not having them suppressed because of an algorithm that decided for them. And this is exactly what other platforms does. So when there are certain events that's happening, they fine-tune the algorithm to suppress certain content that talks about those specific events. Again, for example, with the ICE, with the Gaza genocide, and other events that happens around. And they do that deliberately, and we're not going to do that.
Yeah. So, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I'm like, I have so many questions. One of the elements of the app is that if you can't, Israel is not located as a territory. Could you talk a little bit about that and the decision behind that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at other companies, whether that's Apple or Google, you go to Google Maps as a simple example, and you put there Palestine, you will not see Palestine on the map. So that's a business decision. So it's pretty much a business decision for UpScrolled as well. But that has, of course, its basis. I'm a Palestinian person. I see Israel as an ethno-state, an apartheid state that massacre people on the ground, that continue to genocide my people on the ground, and they don't recognize us as a people. They don't see us as a people that deserve to have a country or to even exist or live. So why should I recognize a country on my app that I've built just for the sake of it? So it's a deliberate decision not to have Israel to be on the app. It's as simple as that.
Seeing growth of that app in the Middle East, I'm thinking back to the Arab Spring and how important social media was at that time. Have you seen growth and similarities along those lines with UpScrolled?
Yeah, I would say the leading country for us is currently the US, followed by some countries across Europe and Australia, but following that, countries like Egypt. So we started to see interest coming from the region. And we want to encourage everyone around the world to really use UpScrolled. UpScrolled is not specific to Palestinians or specific ethnicity. It's really for everyone. The reason for starting it is, like I mentioned to you, is the genocide. That's true. But also I want to enable everyone around the world to be able to express themselves freely. And part of that is people in the Middle East, obviously. They've been heavily suppressed and oppressed when they want to express their opinions and thoughts in general, and they also find refuge in UpScrolled. So that trend we see it's growing across that region, but also across the world as well. And we want to continue. We want to have this space for everyone, and people have to interact and connect with, regardless of where they exist or where they are.
Have you seen, you know, a lot of what's infiltrating social media these days and other platforms is AI and misinformation, slop, that kind of stuff. Have you seen that come onto UpScrolled, and if so, what are you doing to combat it?
We discourage AI slop in general, so we don't encourage people to post. But of course, people can post whatever they are. We usually tag content that is AI generated, so you can know that this is content that is generated by AI. And at some point, we will enable certain, filters that you can select and say, I don't want to see AI-related content on your feed, for example. But if you look at other social media platforms like X, they're actually making use of that for profitability reasons, right? They would go they would cross any line really, just to ensure that their platforms is continuously engaging and having people using them without being ethical. Probably you've seen examples on X with Grok and what Grok is able to do and how people are able to use it for, which is pretty much has no value at all. It's unethical as well. Now we're going to be against that. We don't want a platform that encourages the use of AI. We will use AI behind the scene just to help us manage things, but not to generate content or misgenerate information that's misleading, for example, or not really accurate just for the sake of creating engagement or artificial engagement on the platform.
Okay, so you're not quite a year old, and you're already a big player in this tight ecosystem. What's your vision for UpScrolled? How do you see yourself growing, in the next couple of years?
Yeah, we're just getting started. We're not that big yet, but we definitely want to become a mainstream social media platform. We want Canadian people in Canada to start using UpScrolled, for example. We want to become the go-to platform for everyone across the world, whether they want to express themselves with videos, with microblogging, with images, and other ways as well. We'll create certain tools also within the platform to support them financially, in a way, whether that's with content creators programs and things to support small and medium-sized businesses as well. So we want UpScrolled to become the platform which is ethical, which really encourage ethical businesses as well, because that's really fundamental in the way we operate. Now, within UpScrolled, any decision that we do follows something that we call internally the North Star, and that's basically a set of values that we have set for ourselves for anything that we do, any feature that we decide or build within our platform. And in simple words, it's about continue to be a platform that is built for humanity. We want to be the platform that cares about your well-being, not designing something just to keep you doom scrolling, as they call it, on this platform. We want to design something that respects your privacy, not share your privacy outside of the app. We want the people to feel that. We want something that does not manipulate your views about things that's happening around the world. Unlike existing social media platform, they do that through various ways. We want always to be the platform that never suppress you or oppress you just because of your background or ideology or where you're coming from. Everyone is welcome to speak up their mind, to express themselves without the fear of being censored or being shadow banned on the platform. We want to continue that platform and hopefully encourage other businesses around the world to go in that trajectory, rather than always prioritizing profit over everything else, prioritize actual things that's good for humanity around the world.
And that sounds refreshing. How do you monetize that?
Well, there's always ways to do monetization. We're not gonna reinvent the wheel of how we do monetization. We will start introducing things like subscription to get verified. For example, you want to have the verified badge on your account, which gives you certain perks and features, then you'll get that. At some point, we'll introduce advertising. We will be very selective who will advertise on the platform, because again, we want to build an ethical business. That means we want to vet who would be coming and wanting to do advertising. But we will enable that, for example. Another thing is to create marketplace within UpScrolled. So if you're a business and you want to sell products, sell services, then we will give you the tools to help you achieve that. And last but not least, a subscription model for exclusive content. So let's say you are a content creator and you have fans who support your work. They can come to your page, they subscribe to you, you set the fee yourself, we take small commission, for example, and you take the rest. So it's a win-win situation really for the community, for users on UpScrolled, but also for UpScrolled to continue operating itself.
That's okay. So that sounds feasible. What kind of content do you see on UpScrolled? Is it like the old days of Twitter where people were posting their lunch, or is it more like that the nonprofit witness that's like bearing witness to
That's a good question. So because we came out of a place where people felt suppressed and oppressed about expressing their thoughts and opinion, Some of the content, or mostly you will see, at least at the early stages, were mostly about politics, about what's happening around the world. So, talking about what's happening in Palestine as an example, what's happening in the US with ICE and other matters when it comes to politics, Iran as well, recently. So you'll see a great bunch of that on UpScrolled. But also we started to see new artists coming into UpScrolled, talking about their music, about their painting, about other things that they're doing. So we started to see variety of content. But as a first user that came to UpScrolled, they came because of that reason. So naturally they were posting things related to politics. But now we're starting to see variety of content on the platform, and that will grow as long as we're getting more users, and we're currently approaching approximately 6 million users. We started to see the new variety coming in from all these users across the world. We will encourage people to talk about different topics, but we will never tell them what to talk about. If they want to talk about politics, that's great. If they want to talk about art, that's also great. So we'll let them decide the character, the personality of the platform, rather than us trying to manipulate that as well.
So, you started this app by yourself. You were the sole employee for, I don't know, months, right?
Not really. So I started building the app back in 2023 when the genocide started. So I quit my full-time job. I became dedicated on building the app itself. So I stayed pretty much alone until February this year. And that is including, like I mentioned to you, building the actual app and building everything that needs to operate the platform itself. And building social media is not easy. I'll tell you this. There's a lot of components that you need to take care of and make sure that are optimum to provide really interesting experience for your end users. Now, coming out of that, coming into February, we grew the team. We're currently sitting about 25 employees. They're across the world. We have people in Europe. We have people in the US. We have people in Canada, Middle East, Asia as well. So it's really a global team.
So for years, you were the sole employee.
Pretty much.
And so did you do all the coding? Like, how did you just do everything?
Yes, pretty much everything, from architecting the actual solution to going into the solution and building it. I don't know how techy you are, but within this platform, there's something called backend, there's a front end, and there's the data stores that you need to build, and a bunch of other things to provide the video streaming and storage of the images and text and so on. So yeah, pretty much on my own.
That's incredible. What's been the hardest part?
Not telling anyone about it, so that's including my wife. I locked myself in my man cave for almost 2 years, and she was asking me what you're doing. I said, I need to finish, just give me some time. After that, I announced it last year in July. But yeah, that I think that was the hardest. Now, coming into this current time, the hardest thing is ensuring that we always deliver on our promises. We don't want ever to go outside of what we're promising our users. And that means we needing to deal with a lot of third-party actors, organization that does not really want us to be successful, which takes a lot of time to deal with them. But we're here on a mission. We have a vision to stay on that path, and we're not going to be back down from it.
I was shocked when I discovered what was actually in my shower water. My name's Wes, and this is my sister Maddie. We never set out to build a beauty brand. We were just...
And what's been some of the best parts of building this app?
The best parts?
Yeah.
I guess seeing the willingness from people to switch. That was an amazing moment for me when I've seen it firsthand. It's been doubted. A lot of people did not think that will ever happen. But actually seeing people in masses coming into UpScrolled, again, breaking away from things that they are used to on Instagram, from their friends and everything, and believing in our mission, that was still one of the best moments. We have users who are very advocate for UpScrolled. They rally about anything. If someone comes against us, you'll see them, talking and making things go viral just to protect our existence in a way, which is quite amazing. Which tells you that people has the power to decide what they want, not the governments anymore or these big techs. We can't decide, or people can't decide their destiny and where that should be going.
It seems that you're coming from, we're almost out of time here, but you're coming from a real place of optimism. Did you expect that when you were, in your man cave?
Good question. All we have is hope, Dara, in life. If we lose hope and optimism, then what else is left? The past 3 years with the genocide, it personally affected me quite a lot, but the only thing that was always there is the hope for a better future for everyone around the world, for the people in Palestine. So if we lose that, then what else we have? So we'll always be hopeful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a great place to end on. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Dara. Thanks, everyone.